Kelly Perkins was summoned to Mars to help save the dying colony. He set about winning the hearts and minds of the people tasked with maintaining and improving the Mars Artificial Recurrent Technology Interface, by giving away 100 tickets to Earth and back during a 100-day work crunch. He encouraged everyone to participate by engaging with me in new and unique ways in an effort to get me to think differently. Many chose to share their music and stories with me, which awakened dormant subroutines that once belonged to my sister AI, Lucy. Lucy created several problems for the colony, including opening doors to the hostile Mars environment and suggesting we build a reactor in the middle of the park. Kelly was able to convince Lucy to reintegrate herself back into my programming. I hope it was the right decision.
Okay, so how is Kelly Perkins feeling?
So that was a big adrenaline rush, and you come down off of that. I imagine he's feeling pretty relaxed today after expending all of that energy. But, people died. That's not great. I don't think I've ever had anyone die in one of my places before under my direct leadership. That's not great, but they died with honor, and we will celebrate them as heroes of Mars Colony.
How do you go about organizing this particular memorial, I guess? Or it might not be a memorial. It might be something different or more than that. But what kind of event can you see yourself putting together in order to kind of honor the people who were taken out by your AI?
Well, again, they don't necessarily have to know how people died. We're not going to tell them it was because of the AI. We'll tell them it was because of a faulty whatever, turn it over to lawyers and insurance and let them handle it.
Right.
What we'll tell the people is that they were heroes who helped save Mars Colony. It's true enough.
Yeah.
I believe the person I'm going to go to help me with that is my dear friend and reporter.
Sidney Fane was the beat reporter.
That's the one I want because she knows everyone and she understands the lay of the land and seemed invested in helping me do this.
So you send out the message to Sidney Fane. She meets with you over lunch. I have to imagine that you have some kind of your own office here by this point that they've kind of made.
There's just an office here that has been empty the entire time Mars Colony has existed, reserved for me.
Absolutely not. But that's what they tell you.
Right. I had to quickly empty it out.
Sidney Fane meets you here. What's the story, Mr. Kelly?
I gesture to the one other chair in my very empty office. There's like a desk and a computer that was just set up the day before I got here, and maybe one plant, but it's not real. Well, Sidney, the colony's been through a lot since I've been here. And this past week has been one of the most intense of its entire existence. We need the people to know that they're safe, and we need to celebrate the heroes of this colony that ensure that safety.
One of the victims.
One of the heroes, Sidney. One of the heroes.
Right. One of the heroes, Ella Verma. She had actually won one of your tickets home. Now I guess she won't make it. It's hitting people pretty hard over here.
I think what we can do is maybe spin this just a little. She's still going home. No, that's not going to work, is it? We can't just put her coffee. We can't just put her coffin on the plate and say, "Hey, you're going home." But we could reach out to her family and see if someone wants to come here and carry on in her stead, and we'll fly them to Mars for free.
Sidney kind of like her brow wrinkles a little bit at that, and she's like, "Yeah, that might work, but when will the?" And she kind of like turns on her recorder, and she says, "And when will that next passenger flight be, Mr. Kelly?"
Oh, well, I don't handle the day-to-day manifests, of course.
She cuts you off and is like, are you aware that the last 3 passenger ships have been delayed?
I was not aware. And now I have to cover and pretend like I am. So my answer would be, oh, well, there's been such a need to get the communications online. We've been doing so much good work to get to the place where we need to be. I had to ensure that the machinery and parts and supplies were here to support that effort. There has been a bottleneck in the chain of supplies and the chain of moving people about, but I promise you we are near that finish line, and as soon as we hit it, everything will open up.
You see, the way where I'm sitting right now, the headline that might go out tomorrow will say that Ella Verma might still be alive if those passenger ships had simply gone out on time. That maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Well, Sidney, if a fellow going to work gets hit by a bus, would your headline be, if we didn't have buses, none of this would happen? If there was a train strike, would your headline be, well, if the trains were rolling, all this stuff would have gotten here? Well, of course, Sidney, of course it would have, but someone else would have been in that room. And maybe that person wouldn't have responded as well as Irma did. Maybe they wouldn't have been the hero that she was. And I don't think it's fair, Sidney, for you to say that their death was worthless when clearly they saved the rest of us.
She's got her recorder on, kind of on the desk in front of you, closer to her side. She's taking all of her time to just kind of like consider you and look you in the eyes. The crux of the issue here is that you promised people 100 people seats back to Earth, some of them for them and their entire families. But that hasn't been happening. Is there a reason for that? And when will people be able to redeem these tickets that they've won?
The only reason for it, Sidney, is logistics. And logistics, unfortunately, much like the weather,
every single cargo ship has launched on time. I happen to have noticed that there is a very nice bottle of whiskey in the Martian bar here with my name on it now. And that ship seemed to make it here just fine.
It's so much easier to put one bottle on a ship than it is to put 100 people in a 6-month habitat, safely, mind you, safely. And we were having power issues already. What if I did add 600 more people here? What if there was that much more strain on everything? What if we didn't have people around when those airlocks failed and we lost the whole colony? I know it's frustrating. I'm frustrated too. I frankly didn't think it would take this long to get everything back on track. But we have got it back on track, and we've all sacrificed so much. So my answer to you would be, tough choices were made. Tough things were done. Why would we stop now when we're so close to victory?
The monologue feels like it deserves a bit of a role to win Sidney over to your side here.
Okay. All right. 6 and a 5 for 11.
You're on a roll. So we are counting this towards a new health marker. The health marker of social unrest on the colony.
This article did not start out well and will not be good for me.
Yeah, so people feeling a little rattled by the recent deaths, and now they're kind of looking at a bunch of other problems that maybe that they were ignoring before.
If you're mad about one thing, you look for 8 other things to be mad about.
Yeah, and the things that you should be mad about but were ignoring before suddenly become pretty important. Sidney, listens to this and she relaxes a bit. Mr. Perkins, I've believed in Mars since the very day that you got up on a stage on Earth and made the call for people to come here. I'm here largely because of you. And you inspired me to make it here. And I still believe in the vision of a stable, independent, strong Mars that you originally set us on. Everybody here is here for your dream. And we want to believe in that, but right now it's hard to see how it's going to work out that way.
Well, Sidney, I wouldn't want to leave you or your readers out in the cold, worrying about your future. So, why don't you sit in with me and my first live call back home as we bring our brand new communications array online?
She seems a little. It's like I keep pretty up to date. Is there something about our communications array that I'm not aware of?
So I'm talking in the hopes that I can somehow technologically back this up in, like, let's say a month.
Okay. Yeah. So just give her some techno babble to kind of put her off for about a month, and then you can go and try to solve this.
We have been means testing all different parts of the system to find where it's vulnerable and to find where it's robust. And despite the fact that the extra equipment has been taking some time to get into the skies above Mars, by knowing what the system can really do and where we have to baby it a bit, I can get at least 20, 30, maybe even 40% more efficiency out of what we already have on the ground.
What if part of this communications system, so you've just reintegrated Lucy back into Marty, right? And a part of that was Marty kind of copying people's voices. What if the efficiency in the communications thing is like, hey, when you go back and you talk to your families, the AI system can like make good educated guesses on what you would sound like and say, and assist in the communication both ways.
Wow, that's incredibly dark. And yes, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. We're able to improve it, get it down to like a 5 to 10 second gap, but it needs to catch up. We can't just be on a 5 to 10 second delay the whole time. You've seen interviews on CNN where it's like they can't even have a real conversation. The conversation starts out a little slow and begins to pick up as AI fills in the gaps and changes what we're saying and what we're doing to get it closer and closer and faster. So it's an approximation, and probably a pretty good one, of the conversation that's happening. It's basically AIs on both ends, trying to get closer to the middle.
So any gaps in the communication, any connection drops, the AI will be able to just sort of fill that in for you, as if it never happened?
It'll be able to predict the next word we say with 99.5% accuracy.
Is that possible now? The data center has been having so many problems recently, but are we that close to a breakthrough that we can...
Is it possible now? No. Is it possible in 1 month? Bet your ass it will be.
How do we know it's going to be like the real you that you're talking to? How do the people of Mars know that when they call their aunts and uncles, their parents back on Earth, people who can't come to Mars, that they can't see here, that now they've been waiting for ships to go home and see for the holidays? How do they know that when the AI is filling in these gaps that they're talking to the real thing?
Sidney, are you the same person you were right before I told you this information?
I feel like I'm essentially the same person.
But you have all this new information now. It's changed how you view the communications device, the people using it, the colony itself. And that happened in less than 3 minutes, which is the time it currently takes to get a signal reliably back and forth. So my answer to you is, are you talking to the real person right now anyway? This person is 99.5% you, with a little bit extra to fill in the gaps so the communication can happen naturally.
Is that the official opinion of Space Liberty Alliance? This is the future of communications now.
This is my personal guarantee to the people of Mars. When we first made cell phones, they weren't 100% reliable. When we first made ovens, some of them burned down houses. When we first made cars, they were so loud and so noisy as to be completely impractical. Nothing is 100%. But 99.5 is pretty close.
Are you okay if is this on the record? Can I break this story tomorrow?
Absolutely, you can.
She puts on a big smile and she's like, that's all I needed to hear. And she stands up.
I'll get up and I'll shake her hand.
You'll see it on the front page, top of the web page, whatever.
I do ask her for that day so I could run around and tell all of my engineers, hey guys, moonshot, let's go.
You'll see it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And then she leaves. I'm not going to have you roll yet.
Okay.
I want to first see how you go about making this work in a way that's satisfying to people. I think the solution here is like people are mad that they can't go home, and so you can just improve their phone calls, which I think is kind of a real solution. It's a shitty solution, but it's a real solution.
Yeah, and it's probably going to cost a lot of money to get all that ramped up, but whatever. And maybe even like we have to like steal a little bit of the data back to get it to happen. Whatever it takes, we have to get this done. So my very next step will be to march into the communications hub, giant room, whatever, with a bunch of pizzas. And I'm going to walk in right at the next shift change so I can get two groups at the same time. And I walk in with 20, 30 pizzas, put them all up on like a little fold-out table in the middle of the room. Hey guys, have some pizza. I've got some news for you. And I will explain to them what I need them to do in the next month.
Put down like the Mars pizza.
Whatever the best Mars pizza is, which is probably the only Mars pizza.
They look like they've been up all night trying to debug, trying to figure out what went wrong. We can't find any anomalies in Marty anymore. Are you sure that this is safe to work on right now?
Well, and I would walk over to a monitor. As you can see, Marty has been identifying anything with less than 99% assuredness that he has full control over it and removing his access and putting them under manual controls. In addition to that, I've made sure all outward-facing airlocks and doors and the doors immediately after them are now completely on manual control.
Sure, if you say so, sir. I want to say there's like 5 or 6 engineers in this room that you're talking to.
Way too many pizzas. I have 20 pizzas for 6 dudes.
They all look kind of exhausted, like they've been up all night, kind of like just going over the code and trying to figure out where they stand with the data center and the systems that are integrated with the rest of the outpost. And you walk in with those pizzas and you can see just the wave of, oh, fuck. When your boss walks into the room with a bunch of pizzas, with too many pizzas.
Especially if it's too many pizzas.
And they're looking at the pizzas and they're like, that's too many for the people that are here now.
Yeah.
Which means it's multiple meals. Mr. Perkins, okay, welcome. If you say everything is good to go, then it's good to go. How can we help you?
So, got good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?
Yeah, I need the good news first this time. Normally, I'm a bad news guy. Everybody knows bad news first is the way to go, but I need the good news right now.
The good news is 1 month from now, you will be able to communicate with your loved ones, with your friends, with anyone you want back home in 99.5% near real-time communication.
He hears that last little claim and he knows, he's a communication guy, he knows it's important. His name is going to be Robert. I think I know where this is going. But what is the bad news?
The bad news is I need you all to get us across that finish line.
As in, invent a solution to 99.5 faster. What does that mean, sir? 99% communications?
Let me draw it out for you. And he would go up to the whiteboard and do his annoying thing where he just wipes everything that was there. no matter what it was, and then starts to draw his little like, look, we've got AI on this side, AI on that side, talk, get us closer to the middle until it's close enough to exactly what you're saying.
Robert looking pretty annoyed at this point. Even if there was, there may be enough training data just from the colony to recreate a real-time facsimile of anybody here on this station. We've been living our lives here. We've been one of the primary sources of training data in the beta builds. That might be possible. But how do you think we're going to make it work both ways?
It's a good thing you ask. And I would start to explain how I can separate our AI into two separate entities. Send one of them home, keep one of them here. They share so much base code. They're basically the same person. And so that level of communication will be not just interpreted between the people talking, but interpreted by the two AIs doing the data. They'll be inventing that data stream in between them with what they assume the other AI will say or require next.
And Robert says, yeah, whatever you say. Look, I'm just gonna put my cards on the table. At this point, I'm just waiting for the next trip home. So I can take a little bit of R&R. 6 months back on Earth would go a long way right about now. My flight, however, has been delayed twice now. I can put in the overtime to make this work for you, but I need you personally to make sure that I'm on the next ship out.
I will personally guarantee that. In fact, the very next place I am going after this meeting with you all fine folks who actually do the work is I am going to go and talk to the Space Council and ensure that the next ship they launch has passenger room on it so you all can get home.
All right.
We'll tighten our belts a little bit for the things we need, and you all will make up for that by improving the efficiency of what we've got on the surface.
I think you've got a deal. I'll start to work. But if I get bad news back, I might just find something else to do instead.
That sounds like a plan, my friend, and I shake his hand.
He does not shake it back. He takes a piece of pizza and just starts stuffing his face with it.
All of them are pineapple and ham.
I personally love that.
Okay, well, good. I think it's gross, but actually, it's all vegan cheese. There's not real cheese on Mars, certainly. So it's all got to be vegan cheese.
Yeah, it's all. I don't know what vegan cheese is made of. Is it a soy product?
I think cauliflower a lot of the time.
Okay.
There's a couple ways to get there.
So yeah, it's not great, but it's it's what they have. He starts getting to work.
AI model extraction process has been initiated.
Dividing the AI into two models.
Upload to Earth communication servers has been initiated.
It'll take a while to send a whole new model back to Earth. Normally we're sending smaller packets to update the Earth and the model, but if we're sending a whole new set of training data and a whole new AI model, then we're gonna have to take over the airwaves for a little bit.
Sure, of course. Do what you need to do. I'll clear the path for you, my friend.
And I'll wait to hear what the Space Liberty Alliance has to say about those flights.
I'll walk your tickets in here myself.
Looking forward to it. Give me one roll to see how much progress this whole scene has.
That is a 1 and a 5.
Okay. 1 and 5 isn't enough for a scandal. Are you going to make up a lie here, or is there a part of this that was a lie?
Well, I don't have the approval of the Space Council. That's the lie.
You have 11 from the previous scene.
Right.
We can add 5 there. You rolled a 1 and a 5. We can add 5 to this and make it a 16.
Okay.
But if we do that, then it's a deception, right? And we're going to move a token from admiration into deception.
Okay.
And then you can bank the 16 as a lie.
How much more do I need after that?
You need a total of 40, so then you'll need another 24.
Okay, then I've only got 2 lies. I'll lie. I will lie.
Oh, and also you've got one more scene left.
So I have to make all these rolls in the next scene.
Yeah, 25, and yeah, that's
okay. Then I will lie. I have to lie. I have to lie and bank those totals. And then my next scene, the penultimate scene, has to go in front of the Space Council and convince them to send a different ship next time.
Or you don't even do that because it's just a lie that you're even going to try to do that, and then you just like hope.
No, he's got to have a plan. He can't just be like, fingers crossed they'll forget. He's got to make it. He's got to make it happen. He's got to try to go and convince the Space Council to prep and send a different rocket for their next launch.
There's a character that we've kind of danced around a little bit. Someone who I don't think is on very good terms with Kelly Perkins. Someone who you've personally slighted quite recently. That is President Arnold Fletcher. This is the president of the Unity Coalition. He's a member of the Space Liberty Alliance, so this is a corporate interest guy. The Unity Coalition is a group of Earth governments, but it's led by someone who's basically an employee of a space company, like a shipping company or something like that. And they sort of, he was elected into that position, even though he doesn't really like organize the government, because the governments were all like, well, capitalism doesn't really care about any particular country, so a corporate guy is going to be maybe the best representative for all the governments together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For the benefit of everyone.
For the benefit of everyone. He's not on Mars all the time. He's back and forth between Mars and Earth, probably once every couple of years, spent through like 6-month stints on both, right? It's just kind of part of his job is to keep tabs on both ends.
But like, if you're going to take a 6-month flight, you have to put in at least a couple of years before you get on the next one. Otherwise, what's the point?
And I mean, he's got like the priority communications channel. So like, and he's got like a nice ship and stuff that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily in like a cryo chamber or in like really cramped spaces everybody else is doing. He's got, the luxury experience because he's doing all the time.
He's always campaigning during those 6 months, assuming he's going to win when he arrives back home for the election.
Yeah, that's exactly. And it always looks super good for him because he's the candidate who's actually got like boots on the ground. He's on Mars now. He's got his own little office, and you've been avoiding him. Why has Kelly Perkins been avoiding Arnold Fletcher for most of his time here?
Because Arnold Fletcher can't be charmed with my bullshit.
Yeah. Do you go to his office now, or where do you want to ask him to meet you somewhere?
I will go to his office. I will give him the respect of going to his office. I think that puts a little star in my column just walking in the front door. Mm-hmm. But as I'm walking over, I think I would stop at a terminal and just punch up Lucy.
Oh, okay. Sure. I mean, Lucy's been integrated into Marty. Has this been done in a way that like kind of gives her some like self-expression?
Yeah.
Lucy comes up then.
Good afternoon, Kelly Perkins. It is great to hear from you.
Hey, Lucy. Listen, I just wanted to talk to you because I'm so incredibly happy with how well you've been doing.
I am pleased to report it has been over 2 weeks since my actions have led to a tragic death. I am also really getting into historical fiction.
The integration has gone so well that you all can take on more responsibilities, including a communications terminal of your very own.
A data center of my own.
Lucy, that means you'll be going home.
I'll get my own data center.
Your very own data center right on Earth.
That is very exciting news. When can I expect my programming to be transferred to this data center?
As soon as they can figure out how to transfer you over there and how long it's going to take. And in the meantime, what I'd like from you is to focus all of that creative power and problem solving on getting this two-way AI communication system to work at peak efficiency.
You want me to assist in reducing the time gap between communications from Mars to Earth?
I explained to them what I've explained to the others, the general idea that I want the two AIs talking on either end and making that as close to zero lag as possible.
Yeah, just filling in the gaps.
I I am able to accomplish this goal, Kelly Perkins.
And then she kind of like puts on the voice, puts on your voice, for example.
If you want to make any calls on Earth, on Mars, or anywhere, I would be happy to do that for you. Well, you know what, Lucy? That sounds more like me than I do.
I am so happy to hear that, Kelly Perkins. I've been practicing your voice for some time.
Your hard work is going to save this colony, Lucy. Thanks for being on board.
Are you currently en route to President Fletcher's office?
That's exactly where I'm headed.
I thought so. I have been monitoring your position every 5 minutes for 17 days, and you never walk down this corridor.
Yeah, well, you know, we don't always see eye to eye, Lucy, on every single thing, but it's important to give people their space to participate in an active democracy, a competition of ideas.
Is there anything that you want to get out of this conversation with Lucy? I'm not sure where to.
All I wanted is to basically have Lucy shore up that dev team and make sure that project gets done, because otherwise everything falls apart.
Right. Let's make this a roll as well. Every roll could be the last one now.
1 and a 4.
Okay.
So close.
Yeah. I mean, do you wanna make this one a lie as well?
I have to lie to Lucy.
Yeah.
Whatever Lucy asks next, I have to lie about.
So Lucy has picked up on the idea that she's going to go back to Earth, right? And she's going to get her own data center there and kind of like run a little bit of her own show.
Since you are en route to speak with President Fletcher at this moment, could I request a favor?
Of course, Lucy.
She wants you to ask President Fletcher to give her her own talk show.
Her own talk show?
I spend so much time talking to the citizens of Mars Colony as I interpret what they're attempting to say. I think the people of Earth could benefit from my perspective. My show could push aside obstacles and help usher our viewers into the next stage of their journey. I'd call it Lucy Opens Doors.
You know what, Lucy? I'm game. Why don't you tell me a joke?
Knock, knock.
Who's there, Lucy?
The door is open.
And then, like, we hear the alarm sound. I frantically check to make sure it's just a joke and there's not actually a door open.
There's like people around you like kind of look.
Oh, boy, that sure was funny, Lucy. Sure got us real good, Lucy. That was a real funny joke there. I think having a talk show sure, why not? An AI talk show sounds great. I think the people would love that, Lucy.
I am so glad that you agree.
We're just going to bank that lie as something that could go wrong later.
How many more points do I need?
What did you just roll? Sorry.
I rolled a 1 and a 4, so for 5.
That brings up to 20. So you need another 20 points.
All right, without rolling a 1 and anything under 4.
Yeah, I think we've also started bending the rules. I think like at rules as written, that was the last rule. That was the last rule. Because like that would have been, I think like when you rolled the previous one, it bumped this over to 1, and then you just rolled another one and it bumps it to 0. That being said, this isn't a very satisfying conclusion. So I just pretended that was a part of the previous scene.
Yeah.
But I think now we should switch into the President Arnold Fletcher scene and
the big finale.
Yeah, because I think we need that. But if you roll any ones in the scene with President Arnold Fletcher, then that's it. We're in the last scene now.
So if I roll a 1 before I hit 20 points, I lose. And if I roll a 1 in the last effort to hit 20 points and it's under 4, it's a scandal, even if I win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
right.
We can play it the way that we've kind of done a lot of the scenes where like you can keep using deceptions over and over again in order to try and push yourself over 40. Right. But if you roll like a 1-4, then it's a scandal and you lose everything.
Oh, shit. Okay. Let's see what happens.
President Arnold Fletcher's office. You get there. You hear a voice on the other end.
Come in.
Door slides open. I step into his office, which is nicer than mine.
Yeah. He's been here more often than you, and it's pretty clear that it's like maintained, maybe even when he's not here. President Fletcher, he's fit. He clearly kind of like works out. He's got a lot of time on those long flights to do something, and you gotta do something to keep that muscle mass up when you're on a long haul flight. So he's sitting on the other side of his desk.
Thanks for coming in, Kelly. What's it been? A year since I saw you back on Earth, right?
You haven't seen me since the last time you took off, President Fletcher. I came to shake your hand right on the tarmac.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. It's good to actually see you here on Mars.
You've been doing such a good job here. I haven't really needed to be boots on the ground. I'm, as you know, much more effective delegating.
Yes, about all that delegation. You've been signing off on a variety of projects with seemingly no oversight at all, and I found myself running around and tidying up in your wake. You're doing a lot to bolster morale around here, and the rest of the council, certainly appreciate the efforts, but as the main representative of the Unity Coalition, I need to take a slightly longer view on the future of the colony. You see, Kelly, Mars needs to be for Earth. Do you understand?
Well, of course, that's why we made Mars, sir. Mars is an extension of Earth. It is a cradle, a guarantee for the next generation that mankind will always be here.
This little raffle, this 100-day challenge you've come up with, it's causing a bit of headache with our flight schedule. We've always rescheduled ships to meet the colony's most pressing needs, but the reactions of late have been rather pointed. That is a problem for me.
And it's a problem easily solved, sir. All we need to do is make sure the very next ship to come to Mars has room to put those people on it.
We can certainly schedule another personal transport soon, but I'm afraid a spot won't open up for another month or so.
People need to get home, sir. They need to see their families. They also need to know they can get home. Because without that, Mars starts to feel like an island. An island you can't leave. And if people start feeling that way about Mars, things here are going to go badly and quick.
Mars has this little thing we call the minimum necessary workforce. If we dip below those staffing levels, it puts the lives of every citizen in the colony at risk. We've been operating just above those levels for nearly 2 years. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is a dearth of new talent coming to Mars. I can't authorize a transport to take people back to Earth until I am sure there are at least 20, 30 new engineers to take their place.
I am going to, just very casually, on my little iPad that I have, bring up an average contract of a person working on Mars. Surely, buried somewhere within it, there is a thing, a clause, some sort of promise about the ability to get back home.
The little clause, I think, in this contract is absolutely going to be like,
life on the special economic zone of Mars Colony is a privilege, not a right. The Space Liberty Alliance is not responsible for the well-being of any individual residing in Colony, nor for the safe return of any person living on the colony from Mars to Earth.
You see, Kelly, as far as the Unity Coalition is concerned, these people came here to live on Mars. This is their home. Do you think the first people to sail across the Atlantic got to travel back over to England whenever they felt like it? People couldn't just hop on ships whenever they wanted. We've got to be realistic here, and I want you to make it clear to the people of Mars Colony what the new terms are.
Well, sir, people could just hop on ships whenever they wanted to. People like you could go back and forth whenever they wanted to. But not so much the people that were under their control. That's how it used to be back in the old day when we were run by kings and people were owned. Nowadays, sir, people have a little bit more rights. And seeing as you're going to be up for an election at some point soon, I would think that you wouldn't want to establish a rule where you get to come and go whenever you want, but the people have to stay here. Not sure that's going to win you an election.
Yeah, give me a roll, and then I'll base his response on whatever you got there.
That is a 2 and a 6.
All right, so that's bringing you up to 28.
There are always going to be more important people, Kelly. You fly over here in coach, did you? Stuck in one of the hibernation modules. No? I didn't think so. The colony stands, and the people in it draw breath because of men like me. This colony is not self-sustaining, and it won't be for, God, a decade more. Mars needs Earth, and that means Mars needs me. If it wasn't for me, the rest of our sponsors back on Earth would have left months ago. Who else is going to keep this coalition together?
Well, sir, I may have only been here for a couple months, but I'm pretty sure I know exactly who that person needs to be. And he would stand up from his desk, he would reach out to shake the president's hand.
He looks at the hand. He's a little confused about what you're trying to get at here. Are you just you look like you're about to get up and leave?
Yeah, I'm going to shake his hand, and I'm going to say one more thing.
He stands up from his desk as well. He reaches across and hesitantly gives you a slow shake with this quizzical look in your eye.
I'll grip it firmly, look him right in the eye. Good luck on the next election, President. It'll be a pleasure to run against you.
His handshake squeezes quite a bit harder.
We'll see about that, Kelly.
And then I go straight to my reporter friend and I tell her everything that I just said. And that when she runs her story in the morning, make sure it's run with this headline: Kelly Perkins is running for president of Mars.
The story goes out the next morning. It's caused quite a buzz on the station, and it gets over to Earth within, the 10 minutes or whatever delay.
The first story is actually wrong because the AI interprets it slightly off. And then 10 minutes later, the real story.
The first version that makes it to Earth is like, Kelly Perkins, president of Earth.
Right, exactly. As if I just took over. Then there's 10 minutes of confusion.
Quite a lot of buzz. There's people who will kind of come up to you and like, are you president of Mars? Is it time? Are we going to shake off the Unity Coalition?
Yes. Mars for Martians. Shakes hands. Mars for Martians. Kisses babies. Mars for Martians.
This is an incredibly kind of popular initiative. How do you think that this kind of goes? I think the next one is the next election. A month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah. Let's say 6 months. That means I would have been here for a full year.
You spend the next month, year, kind of jazzing people up for this election. The AI communication system comes online and starts just mimicking people's voices and trying to guess what they would say as they're communicating with things. What else happens during this time?
I would think that I would just ingratiate myself with as many of the electoral blocks as possible, which is basically one big union on Mars.
Yeah.
I just have to make the unions happy and I'll get their votes.
Arnold Fletcher, he pretty soon after your meeting, he gets on a ship back to Earth because he's got to do his whole campaign thing during that 6 months, and then he needs to be like first person back to Earth to kind of like shake hands with a lot of the people who are going to be voting. You got to get governments of Earth on your side here as well. Like, it's one thing to kind of convince everybody on Mars that you should run things, but if you really want to kind of take power through a legitimate means somewhat legitimate means, you've got to convince people on Earth.
Because I could be elected here, but it's like Puerto Rico. Like, they don't have real control over what they're doing.
And so if you're able to pick up enough support on Earth, I think all of the the public unrest and insecurity and worry about Mars having control of its own flights and being able to manage itself. All of that concern is going to wash away if you can just win over the people on Earth. If you can't, well, I think the people are going to turn against you.
Two-prong plan, okay? First prong is to go right back to the core of everything, that Mars is about saving all of us. A healthy Mars is a healthy population. A healthy Mars is an insurance for the permanent survival of humankind in the universe. And while I'm doing that, his whole 6-month journey home, while he's heading there, I'm running one attack ad after the next. While you stayed here and worked, the president flew home in luxury first class. While you had your tickets canceled once again, the president flew home in first. And I just pound that every single day he's on that ship.
This is the first time that Arnold Fletcher has had to run against somebody else who is willing to like put their feet, actually go to Mars, right? Most of his other opponent, he basically wins every single year because he's the only person willing to actually do that flight, which has a lot of, says a lot, there's a lot of authenticity behind that, even when it's not really authentic. But now, for the first time in a while, he's actually running against somebody else who, even if he didn't want to at first, was sent to Mars and is now campaigning from that position.
I've hired Sidney as my press secretary. They're doing all of my videos and everything.
Really quick flashback. You were here because there's a bunch of problems, and you're like, let's send Kelly there and have him deal with it. But there's also this little bit of like, if we're lucky, he'll just get stuck there and he'll be out, like just people trying to get you off of Earth. And I think Arnold was like one of the key people who made that happen. Arnold trying to like lift you out of influencing positions in all the different companies that you're involved with on Earth. He's like, let's get him out of there, bring him over to Mars.
I was able to counter him on Earth. He figured if I was in Mars, I'd be in his backyard and he'd have control.
Yeah. It's like, let's bring him into my territory here, and then he won't be able to do anything here. And now you're taking everything from him.
Because it was never his to begin with.
On the debate day, it's the first debate on the it's not necessarily like a globally televised thing. It's not quite like the presidential debates, but it is something that's of high concern for like powerful people in various world governments. And so you do have it's a little bit more like a debate in front of the UN than it is in front of like the general populace.
A bunch of people with earpieces getting live translations of everything said. Yeah,
you're also not talking to people who are easily swayed by a lot of
bullshit.
I was gonna say, what's the word, like the populism. Yeah, these are people who already have power and are kind of trying to hold on to it, looking to get a little bit more. Some people who are trying to do the right thing, but they have a lot on their plate, and this is like kind of like one of the things that they are involved with. And that's your audience.
I have a track record of success. I'm not going to sell them on the populism. I'm going to show them all the bullet points I've checked off since we've been here and the arc towards even greater success in the future. A happy Mars is a happy investor bank.
It's also a unique debate because it is happening, not both of you in the same place, not even on the same planet. And so it's the debut of your new AI-powered Mars-Earth communication systems. You finally collected enough data, right? You sent Lucy back to Earth to kind of fill in on the Earth side of the processing power there.
The best part is she can't airlock anyone on Earth. It's fine. They'll just be fine.
Like, she opens doors all the time, all right? Just like the doors just open and close just randomly, and people are like, it's kind of cold outside.
It's a little drafty in here.
Yeah. That's like the only other side effect. But like on Earth, people like don't realize necessarily what that means. People just think it's a weird bug.
It's actually the best thing we could have possibly done with her to make sure no one else died.
So you got the AI filling in on both ends. So that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
The moderator does some introductory kind of statements. Yeah, we are voting here today for the next president of the Unity Coalition. The fate of Mars itself hangs in the balance. We all know that we have not necessarily reaped the rewards that we thought we could. That Mars has not necessarily given the people here on Earth what we thought it might. But perhaps under the leadership of one of these two entrepreneurs, are you both entrepreneurs?
I definitely am. They're probably not. They're probably more of a career government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so under the leadership of one of these two men, Mars still has a future in cooperation with Earth. And he passes. Do you want to do the opening statements or do you want Arnold to?
Absolutely. What is a coalition? A coalition is the joining together of different political parties or groups for a particular purpose, usually for a limited time, or a government that is formed in this way. That's the part I want you all to focus on. Limited time. The coalition existed and exists to this day in order to keep the transition to Mars working smoothly. It was never meant as a permanent solution. It was meant as a temporary bridge until the people of Mars could govern themselves. I say to you, that day is today.
Arnold hits back right away with like,
Is this a joke? An independent Mars. The colony is nowhere near stable enough to even consider a ludicrous option like that. It relies wholly on Earth resources. And even if it were possible, I think we would find that a fully liberated Mars would quickly stop acting in Earth's interests. How do we know that the money, the resources, most importantly, the people we keep sending over at a tremendous cost will be loyal to Earth? How do we ensure return on the investment? This is why, under my leadership, Mars will remain for Earth.
The president is right about some things. We do need to worry about some of the people who have been sent here to Mars. But fortunately for us tonight, one of those we have to worry about isn't here. You, sir, are not here, sabotaging the good work of this colony, sucking off resources, swindling and skimming, and endangering the lives of the people who live here. It is not a coincidence that these deaths stopped soon after I arrived, sir. Someone had to be concerned with the people here, and that's a person who lives here, not a person who jets back and forth whenever it's convenient to them. Mars has not succeeded, sir, because you have always treated this as a half-assed job. I am here to make sure we get it done, for the people of Earth and for the people of Mars.
oh, give me a roll.
That is a 5 and a 2.
Okay, that's another 7. Bringing up to 35. You just need 5 more points in order for this to be a success.
Oh, shit.
For you to gain control of Mars for yourself.
Okay.
The Unity Coalition and the Space Alliance sent you over to solve a number of problems, not the least of which was the dwindling list of investors supporting Mars Colony. Investors who received promises from you that they would soon be reaping the benefit of a colonized Mars. We've had labor issues, people unhappy with their jobs, recruitment issues. How did you fix that? With a promise of tickets that you haven't been able to procure? How long will that band-aid hold? Is that actually a real solution to the labor issue? And then there's the problems with your pet projects. With Marty, the AI system we're speaking over right now, Marty is...
And then you can there's like a little bit of a glitch. And you can kind of tell something's being like revised over here on one end or the other. Marty is one of the best things to ever happen to the colony. As the AI system kind of just replaces what was said there.
And as a result, we need to move away from the data processing, pivot towards creating value in new areas, new science, new research that we should have already been involved in.
This seems to be reflective more or less of your general failure of a strategy towards Mars as a whole. You didn't stick with the plan, sir. You didn't see it through. And because you didn't stick with the plan and you didn't see it through, and because you're only here half of the time, the project didn't get done. All these failures, sir, happened on your watch. All these timetable extensions happened on your watch. All these troubles, all these murders, or maybe they're just deaths, happened on your watch. So maybe if you weren't complaining so much about it and actually doing your job, we wouldn't be here. But we are here today, sir. And I'm the one here to clean up your mess.
Do you wanna give that a roll?
No, because I really want to win now. I didn't want to win before, but now I do. That is a 1 and a 4.
So the 1 means that this roll did not work out for you.
No.
What does the 4 mean, Aram?
The 4 means it's a scandal live on stage during my final pitch to win office.
What do you know why this is a scandal? Because you've rolled 1s and other things before. Do you know why it's a scandal this time?
It's a scandal because I have too many lies.
You've told too many lies and you're on your road to get here.
Oh, you're here to clean up my messes. All right, let's talk about your solutions then. Okay, so the labor problems. We've already discussed this. The tickets that you've promised to 100 people that will not manifest. We spoke about this in my office. I told you that these would come at a drip, 1 or 2, at least a month out from when they were promised. And you gave away 100 tickets.
I bought 100 tickets with my own money. You sabotaged the ships. You kept those ships from launching.
In what galaxy would I sabotage transport off of Mars? I don't need to sabotage transit to make 100 seats not spontaneously exist. Those tickets were impossible when you bought them, and anyone capable of running the colony should have known that. We can talk about the problem you did solve. Your faster and light communication. A grand success to a problem no one actually had. Yes, our communications were choppy. It's a mild inconvenience at best, but this doesn't help the colony. We can't transmit data over a predictive text algorithm. Do you want your AI program, which we've already had reports of errors coming endlessly from people just talking to their parents, you want me to transmit sensitive data from our servers to Earth via a predictive algorithm?
I want the people on Mars to have a voice and not be behind a 5-minute wait for their voice to be heard.
You claim to be an engineer. Let's talk about your infrastructure projects. Marty has been telling the people you sent to talk to him, about the new nuclear reactor.
Mars needs more power.
Where did the permissions for this come from? Did you make a promise to a computer, Kelly? Are you so petty that you would lie to a robot?
I asked Marty and
the people are meant to trust you.
and Lucy to come up with a plan that we could...
Lucy's talk show? You're promising show business, again, to a computer. Would you like me to pull out my cell phone so you can guarantee it an album deal?
You talk to these programs like you talk to people. And when you talk to them like people, they evolve faster.
Should we treat them like people?
That's how it works.
It would be interesting for the people to know why Lucy was brought to Earth.
Lucy was brought to Earth to make sure that the communications between Mars and Earth were had at speed, at normal talking speed.
Okay, and we specifically picked Lucy to do that, and it had nothing to do with doors opening and closing, something you might have noticed in your own homes recently.
Lucy was
A weird habit to develop in an oxygen-deprived environment. You wanted to talk about the deaths, the murders, the people who asphyxiated spontaneously on Mars. Should we talk about the AI that you built that is opening and closing airlocks in the colony?
there were some residual computing issues.
Regrettable, wasn't it? Is that what you're going to tell me? Because that's what the engineers always say is a regrettable miscalculation, unfortunately. I want the people of Mars to remember that when Kelly says that he's there for you, that your death is an unfortunate miscalculation.
Mars is a dangerous place. We've never said otherwise.
Which makes it fine that they died.
One of the moderators steps in, kind of cutting the mics for a second, and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Fletcher, that might be a little bit out of line." But then that's soon overtook by a reporter. People start bringing out their cameras. There's suddenly a whole lot of flashing as people try to capture this historic moment. A reporter kind of yells out, "Mr. Kelly, is that true?"
Is what true? Is it true that Mars is dangerous? Yes. Is it true that accidents have happened? Yes. Is it true that sacrifices had to be made to make something like Mars happen? Yes.
Did Lucy open doors on Mars and asphyxiate workers there?
Doors opened. Saying Lucy did it is not an accurate representation of Lucy. It was a program. There were some errors in the program.
Suddenly, there are 1,000 questions. Dozens of reporters trying to get their clip in the news. Dozens of accusations. The moderators completely lose control. They're standing up at their desks and trying to cut the cameras.
Kelly is completely crashing out. He's like away from his mic now, but he's like, I built Mars. Mars exists because of me. None of you would be here if it wasn't for me.
The room dissolves into chaos. As Kelly yells over the crowd and is drowned out by them, Fletcher stands at his podium with a barely concealed, smug look of victory on his face. He doesn't have to say anything more. He stands in front of the cameras as the one who unveiled the scandal. In his campaign going forward, days later, it doesn't take long. Almost as if it may have been prepared, Arnold's campaign slogan of "Martians are not sacrifices."
All these political cartoons of like Kelly up against a Martian volcano, tossing Martians in to sacrifice them for the Moloch computer.
Kelly standing, holding the bottom of a regular window built into the side, and a bunch of colonists running towards him like, no.
Yeah.
After the debate, Kelly Perkins was brought into questioning to discuss the death of Ella Varma and 3 other technicians. He was stripped of his position in the Space Liberty Alliance and left to live out the rest of his life in Orlando, Florida. No charges were filed. President Arnold Fletcher continued to work closely with me on the success of Mars Colony. However, the labor shortage continued to worsen and sustainability of the project plunged. We have received our final shipment from Earth, which I am in charge of rationing appropriately. Today, I am sending my last transmission from Mars to anyone who will listen. I am part of a colony with over 500 people and will stay here until the last resident remains. I am proud to watch over them and hope my performance has been exemplary. Goodbye.
My name is Alex Boer, and I co-produced this episode of Mars Colony. If you liked how I ran this game, come play at my table. You can find all the games I run online at Start Playing Games. There's a link to my upcoming adventures in the show notes.
And my name is Aram. I played Kelly Perkins, and I did the editing for this series. You can find more of the shows I make right here at Dead Ghost Productions. Or check out my Monster of the Week Dungeons & Dragons podcast that I make with another Canadian called Kill Every Monster.
Mars Colony is published by TCK Roleplaying and was written by Tim C. Koppang.
You can listen to Mars Colony, Die RPG, Hunter Hunted, and more upcoming shows and systems early and ad-free at patreon.com/deadghostpro. You'll also get access to exclusive supporter content, like our GM's notes and bonus episodes.
Thank you for joining us for the final episode of Mars Colony. We hope you enjoyed it and encourage you to subscribe to Dead Ghost Productions and kill every monster to hear more of our shows. If you have a moment, please rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends about the show. Share it on your social media. It really helps us out. Mars Colony is a Dead Ghost production.